The digital clock above the bus shelter blinked once, hesitated, then settled on 11:46 p.m. She stared at it as if staring hard enough might push time backward. The bus stop was empty, no footsteps, no chatter, no late-night laughter spilling from a crowd rushing toward midnight. Just wind scraping along the pavement and snow drifting sideways beneath a lonely streetlight. Her breath fogged the air in short, uneven bursts. She checked her phone again. 2% battery. Her thumb hovered over the screen, refreshing the transit app even though she already knew what it would say. The spinning circle stopped. Last bus departed. For a moment, the world felt very, very quiet. New Year's Eve wasn't supposed to look like this. It was supposed to be noise and countdowns and strangers hugging in the street. Instead, she sat on a frozen metal bench, pulling her coat tighter around herself, realizing that she was officially stranded, with midnight 14 minutes away. She told herself not to panic. She'd figure something out. She always did. But the lies felt thinner the longer she sat there. The streets around her were unfamiliar. She'd taken the bus across town for a last-minute shift, thinking she'd be home by 10. Taxis were impossible tonight. Ride apps showed nothing but spinning wheels and no drivers available. Her sister lived 2 hours away. Her friends were already celebrating, phones off, glasses raised. Another gust of wind cut through her scarf, and her fingers went numb. She stood, pacing the length of the shelter, boots crunching against icy gravel. She checked the posted schedule, paper curled and faded, as if even it had given up. Next bus, 6:12 a.m. She laughed quietly, the sound brittle. 6 hours. 6 hours in the cold, on New Year's Eve, with no battery, no plan, and no one expecting her home. Fireworks cracked somewhere far off, early celebrators testing the sky. The sound echoed through the empty street, sharp and hollow. She imagined families gathered around televisions, friends shouting countdowns, couples kissing at midnight. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of how alone she was. That's when she heard the engine. It wasn't loud or new, more like a tired hum, the sound of something that had been running longer than it should have. Headlights washed over the snow, slowing as they approached the bus stop. Her stomach tightened. A car pulled over and stopped a few feet away. She froze, every warning she'd ever learned rushing forward at once. Don't make eye contact. Don't engage. Don't trust strangers, especially not tonight. The driver's window rolled down. A man leaned out, bundled in a thick coat, his face lined with exhaustion rather than menace. He looked like someone who hadn't slept enough in years. His eyes flicked to the bus schedule, then back to her. "You okay?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. She opened her mouth to say yes. The automatic answer. The safe answer. Instead, what came out was the truth. I missed the last bus." Her voice sounded smaller than she meant it to. The man glanced at the clock on his dashboard, then back at her. In the glow of the streetlight, she noticed a child in the back seat, curled up under a blanket, fast asleep, forehead pressed against the window. The man followed her gaze. "My daughter," he said quietly, as if afraid to wake her. "Oh," she replied, stepping back. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." He shook his head. "It's fine." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Snow gathered on the hood of the car. Somewhere behind them, another firework exploded, lighting the sky in brief color. "What street are you trying to get to?" he asked. She hesitated, then told him. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "That's not close." "I know," she said quickly. "It's okay. I'll figure something out. She stopped herself before her voice cracked. "I just didn't expect this." He nodded, as if he understood more than she'd said. He should have driven away. She knew that. He knew that. Any sensible person would have wished her luck and merged back into the empty street. Instead, he looked at his sleeping daughter, then at the dark road ahead. The clock on the bus shelter ticked over to 11:49 p.m. He exhaled slowly, the kind of breath people take right before they make a decision that changes the course of a night. "I was just heading home," he said. "I can take you part of the way. Somewhere warmer, at least." Her heart pounded. "You don't have to," she said immediately. "Really? I don't want to inconvenience you." He smiled faintly. "It's New Year's Eve. We could all use a little inconvenience." Another pause. Then he unlocked the doors. "Get in," he said. "It's freezing." She hesitated, just for a second, then opened the door and stepped inside. The warmth hit her instantly. Behind them, the streetlight flickered. The empty bus stopped standing silent as the clock continued its steady march toward midnight. He hadn't planned on stopping. That was the truth he wouldn't admit out loud as he pulled back onto the road. The bus stopped shrinking in the rearview mirror like a mistake he could still undo. The heater hummed, fighting the cold that clung to everything this time of year, and the woman in the passenger seat sat stiffly, hands folded in her lap, as if she might disappear if she moved too much. In the back seat, his daughter slept on, oblivious to the fact that her father had just altered their night. He glanced at the clock. 11:51 p.m. So close to midnight it almost felt dangerous. He told himself he was doing the right thing. Or at least not the wrong one. He'd made promises to himself after his wife died, promises about caution, about keeping his daughter safe, about not letting impulse decide things for him anymore. And yet, here he was. "I'm Mark," he said finally, breaking the silence. She turned toward him, startled, then smiled politely. "I'm Lily." The name lingered in the car, light and uncertain. They drove for a moment without speaking, snow whispering beneath the tires. Mark kept his hands firmly on the wheel, eyes on the road, acutely aware of every rule he'd broken just by letting a stranger into the car. He checked the mirror again, just to reassure himself that his daughter was still asleep. She was. Her small chest rose and fell steadily, a faint smile tugging at her lips like she was dreaming of something warm and safe. Mark's throat tightened. He hadn't expected this night to feel heavy. New Year's Eve used to be loud in their house, music blasting, his wife dancing barefoot in the kitchen, their daughter banging pots together like cymbals while the countdown echoed from the TV. Now the night came quietly, padded with routines and compromises. They'd planned to stay home. Hot chocolate, a movie, bed before midnight if she couldn't keep her eyes open. Simple. Predictable. Then he'd opened the fridge and realized they were out of milk. Just one quick trip to the store, he'd thought. 5 minutes. He hadn't counted on the roads being half closed, the parking lot chaos, or the way time slips when you're not watching. He certainly hadn't counted on a woman alone at a bus stop, staring at a clock like it had betrayed her. "You don't have to take me all the way," Lily said softly, as if reading his thoughts. "Anywhere with lights is fine." "I don't want to." "It's okay," he interrupted gently. "I meant what I said. I'll get you closer." She nodded, swallowing. Outside, the city seemed to hold its breath. Storefronts were dark, windows reflecting strings of leftover holiday lights. Somewhere, laughter spilled out of a bar, muffled by closed doors and falling snow. "Rough night?" he asked, surprising himself. She hesitated, then let out a small, humorless laugh. "I guess you could say that. I picked up an extra shift because I needed the money. Thought I'd be home early enough to catch the bus. Turns out the bus had other plans." Mark smiled faintly. "Buses tend to do that." She glanced toward the back seat again. "She's really out." "Yeah," he said. "Fireworks won't even wake her. She sleeps like her mom." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Lily didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked out the window, giving him space. That kindness, unspoken, instinctive, hit him harder than sympathy ever had. "Sorry," he said quietly. "It's okay," she replied. "My dad used to say the same thing about me." The road curved, and the car slowed at a red light. In the distance, fireworks began to bloom more frequently now, bursts of color painting the low clouds. The clock on the dashboard flipped. 11:57 p.m. Mark felt something twist in his chest. Midnight had always been his wife's favorite moment of the year. She loved the idea of clean slates, of forgiving yourself just because the calendar allowed it. After she passed, New Year's felt less like a beginning and more like a reminder of everything that hadn't come with him. Lily watched the fireworks, eyes reflecting light. I didn't think I'd be starting the year like this, she said. Me neither, he admitted. They drove on, the silence between them no longer sharp, but thoughtful. As the final minute of the year approached, Mark realized something unsettling. He didn't regret stopping. Not even a little. The car rolled forward as the sky prepared to explode with color, carrying 3 lives, briefly, unexpectedly, into the same moment in time. The first firework of the new year exploded just as the traffic light turned red. Mark eased the car to a stop, the tires crunching softly against packed snow. The sky burst into color. White, then gold, then a deep electric blue that reflected off the windshield like rippling water. For a moment, none of them spoke. The dashboard clock blinked and changed. 12 a.m. Midnight. No countdown. No cheering crowd. Just the quiet hum of the engine and the distant echo of celebrations spilling across the city. Happy New Year, Lily said softly, almost like she was afraid to break something fragile. Mark smiled, surprised by how much the words meant this time. Happy New Year. In the back seat, his daughter stirred. She shifted beneath her blanket, her small brow furrowing as the thunder of fireworks grew louder. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then slowly taking in the glow of light and shadow dancing across the car. Daddy, she murmured. I'm here, Mark said immediately, turning slightly in his seat. Everything's okay. Her gaze drifted to Lily in the front seat. Confusion flickered across her face, then curiosity. Who's that? Mark hesitated, searching for the right words. That's someone who needed help. The girl considered this carefully, as if weighing it against all the things she knew about the world. Oh, she said. Then, after a pause, is she sad? Lily's throat tightened. Before Mark could answer, she nodded. I was. But I think I'm okay now. The child smiled, wide and unguarded. Good. It's a new year. New years are for being okay. Mark felt something crack open inside his chest. The light turned green, but he didn't move right away. Fireworks continued to bloom overhead, their reflections chasing each other across the snow-lined street. It felt wrong to rush this moment, like driving away would somehow make it disappear. Finally, he pressed the gas gently. They drove through the quiet streets as midnight settled in around them. Most houses were dark now, celebrations winding down, people retreating indoors to sleep off joy and noise. The world felt smaller, calmer, as if it belonged only to the few still awake. My mom says New Year's is when wishes can hear you better, his daughter announced suddenly. Mark swallowed. She used to say that, didn't she? The girl nodded. Do you think she can hear us now? He glanced at Lily, then back at the road. I think she can, he said. The child closed her eyes, pressing her hands together. I wish Daddy wouldn't be sad anymore. Mark's vision blurred. He tightened his grip on the wheel, breathing slowly, carefully, unwilling to let the moment break him open completely. From the corner of his eye, he saw Lily turn toward the window, pretending to be very interested in the passing streetlights. A few blocks later, she spoke. She's really special. Mark nodded. She keeps me honest. They turned onto a quieter road, the kind lined with small houses and bare trees wrapped in twinkling lights. Lily recognized the street and sat up straighter. This is close, she said. You can drop me here. He slowed the car, but didn't stop yet. Something tugged at him, a reluctance he didn't fully understand. You sure? He asked. She smiled. Yeah. You've already done more than enough. He pulled over anyway, stopping in front of a corner store that glowed warm and yellow against the cold night. He put the car in park and turned off the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy. I don't know how to thank you, Lily said quietly. Mark shrugged, uncomfortable with gratitude. You don't have to. Just get home safe. She opened the door, then hesitated. You know, she said, I think this might be the nicest New Year's I've had in a long time. His daughter leaned forward between the seats. Daddy, she whispered loudly, did we make a New Year friend? Mark laughed, the sound surprising even himself. Yeah, he said. I think we did. Lily laughed too, the tension finally easing from her shoulders. As she stepped out into the cold, fireworks faded, leaving behind a quiet sky and a feeling none of them would forget. Three strangers bound together by a single choice made it midnight, when the year was still new and anything felt possible. Mark waited until Lily disappeared down the sidewalk before starting the engine again. He didn't know why he did that. He just needed to see her reach a place where the light spilled from a doorway, where she belonged. Only then did he let the car pull away from the curb, the tires whispering over the snow as if the city itself was urging him to go gently. In the back seat, his daughter had gone quiet again, watching the street through half-lidded eyes. "Daddy," she said, her voice drowsy. "Did we help her?" "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "We did." She smiled and leaned back, satisfied. Within moments, sleep reclaimed her, the kind that comes only when the world feels safe. Mark drove the rest of the way home in silence. The fireworks were over now. The streets were nearly empty, the city shedding the last echoes of celebration. As he pulled into their apartment complex, he noticed how still everything felt, like the year itself was holding its breath. Inside, the apartment was dark and quiet. He carried his daughter in, careful not to wake her, her arms looping instinctively around his neck. He tucked her into bed, smoothing her hair the way her mother used to, and stood there longer than necessary, listening to her even breathing. When he finally sat on the couch, the clock read 12:38 a.m. He should have been tired. Instead, his mind replayed the night, the bus stop, the hesitation, Lily's voice when she'd said she was okay now. He hadn't done anything heroic. He knew that. And yet, the feeling lingered, warm and unfamiliar, like he'd stepped back into a version of himself he thought was gone. He slept lightly, dreams stitched together with fireworks and falling snow. 3 days later, Lily found the note stuck under her windshield wiper. At first, she thought it was a parking ticket. Her heart dropped as she reached for it, fingers numb from the cold. Then she saw the handwriting, slanted, careful, unmistakably human. "Hope the year's being kinder to you." The guy from the bus stop. Taped beneath the note was a small gift card. Hot chocolate. Lily stared at it for a long time before laughing, the sound echoing in the empty parking lot. It felt absurdly thoughtful, like someone had reached back into a moment that should have ended and gently refused to let it go. She didn't know how he'd found her car.
She didn't ask.
Instead, she sat behind the wheel and cried, quiet, relieved tears she hadn't realized she'd been holding since that night. Life didn't magically change after New Year's Eve. Bills still came. Work was still work. The bus still ran late. But something inside Lily had shifted. When a coworker snapped at her over something small, she let it go. When a stranger struggled with grocery bags, she stopped to help. She found herself looking people in the eye again, instead of through them. Kindness, she realized, had momentum. A week later, as she walked toward her car after another late shift, she spotted something familiar tucked beneath the wiper. Another note. "Hope you're staying warm." This time, there was a phone number. She stared at it, heart racing, weighing the risk of expectation against the simple fact that some people mean what they do. She typed a message. "Thank you for everything." The reply came almost immediately. "Anytime. Happy New Year, friend." Lily smiled, the cold suddenly less sharp. She didn't know where this would lead. She didn't need to. Some moments weren't meant to be rushed or labeled. Some were just meant to be carried forward. Quiet reminders that even a missed bus, even a lonely midnight, could turn into something unexpectedly human. And somewhere across town, a single dad sat on his couch, phone in hand, smiling at a message that made the year feel possible again. The first anniversary of that night arrived quietly. No fireworks. No crowds. No missed buses. Just a thin layer of snow on the sidewalks and a calendar flipped to December 31st once again. Lily noticed the date that morning and smiled without quite knowing why. She felt it before she remembered it. The warmth of a car heater, the hush of midnight, a child's voice declaring that New Year's were for being okay. She finished work early, something that would have been impossible a year ago. Life hadn't become perfect, but it had softened. She had learned how to ask for help, how to accept it without shame, how to believe that small kindnesses weren't accidents. Her phone buzzed. Mark. Hot chocolate tonight? She laughed out loud. They met at the same corner store where he'd dropped her off that night. The lights still glowed warm against the cold, and the air still carried that sharp, clean winter bite. This time, Mark wasn't alone. His daughter hopped out of the car first, bundled in a puffy coat and a hat that kept slipping down over her eyes. "It's the New Year friend," she announced proudly. Lily knelt to her level. "I was hoping you'd be here." Mark watched them, something steady and grateful settling into his chest. Over the past year, their connection had grown slowly, texts turning into coffee, coffee into shared errands into something that felt like family without ever needing to be named. They went inside, ordered hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, and claimed a small table near the window. Outside, snow drifted down, quiet and unhurried. "Do you remember your wish?" Lily asked the girl gently. She nodded.
"Yeah."
"I wished Daddy wouldn't be sad." Mark cleared his throat. "You did." "And?" Lily prompted. The child smiled, eyes shining. "It worked." Mark reached across the table, covering Lily's hand with his. The gesture was natural now, easy. As midnight approached, the store's old radio crackled to life with a countdown. A handful of strangers joined in, voices uneven but sincere. 3, 2, 1. Cheers broke out, followed by laughter and clinking mugs. "Happy New Year," Mark said. "Happy New Year," Lily echoed. Outside, a few fireworks sparked in the distance, muted but bright against the dark sky. The girl raised her mug solemnly. To not being alone. They all touched cups. Later that night, after the girl was asleep and the city had gone quiet, Mark and Lily stood on the sidewalk, reluctant to say goodbye. "You know," Lily said, "if you hadn't stopped that night." He shook his head. "I think about that a lot." "So do I," she admitted. "It's strange how close we come to missing entire lives." Mark smiled softly. "Or finding them." She laughed, breath fogging in the cold. "You changed my year." He considered this. "You changed ours." They stood there a moment longer, letting the words settle. Years later, Lily would tell the story to people who needed reminding, co-workers on rough nights, strangers who believed the world had hardened beyond repair. She'd say it wasn't about romance or fate or grand gestures. It was about a single choice made at 11:49 p.m. on a freezing New Year's Eve. A man who didn't drive away. A child who believed wishes mattered. A woman who missed a bus and found a beginning instead. And every December 31st, no matter where life took them, they kept the same promise they'd made without ever saying it out loud. No one ends the year alone. Because sometimes, all it takes to change everything is stopping.